Very much for coming along to the first meetup of 2016. It's exactly a year since we had our first meetup. A few of you in the room, well, actually they're out of the room at the moment, but a few were here for the first one 12 months ago. And just to give you a little bit of background for those that haven't already heard my story and why I set this group up. I was working in the music industry on and off for about 15 years. And very successful, lots of travelling, lots of partying, was really good fun. And my friends were like, "You're crazy, why are you leaving that job?" And you know, like any job, it looks good from the outside to some people, but actually when you're going through the run-of-the-mill day after day with a boss kind of telling you what to do and the income not quite going up as much as you want, you start to think, maybe there's more to life than this. And I'd sort of had those feelings for a while actually, and slowly was kind of looking for an exit out of full-time work and looking at opportunities really, like what way could I generate income for myself. And I don't know, probably many of you have had a little look on the internet for how to make money and stuff like that, and you get about 20 million results, and it's a bit boggling because you don't know which are scams, and they all sound amazing, make 50 grand in 2 hours and sit on a beach and all of this kind of stuff. And I'm not saying that's not possible, because I actually know people who have made that a reality, but I think it's a damn sight harder than they make out. And you've got to be very careful with the people that you invest your time and your money with, because there's, quite frankly, a lot of people out there who can't deliver on the promises and are happy to take the money. So the thought process really was set up a group where we could get together as like-minded individuals, everyone who's on the same path and wants to find additional ways to generate income. And I've probably been on this journey for, I'd say 10 years, because in 2004 I got back from travelling. I lived in Australia for a year, and a friend of mine, when I got back from travelling, put a Jim Rohn CD in his car, and he said, "Yeah, check this out, you know." And for anyone that's, in fact, anyone heard of Jim? Yeah. Who's number one? Jim is my number one, 100%. And yeah, I didn't really look back from that point onwards, and I was like, wow, this is just so simple, and it's just, the stuff that we should all be doing, but we don't, it's not in our conscious mind, we just. So from there, it obviously led to Robert Kiyosaki and Anthony Robbins, and the journey began. So yeah, tonight I would just like to go a quick run through for half an hour, just give those of you who are new to the group a bit of an idea about what we're setting out to achieve and what we have achieved over the last 12 months. Because what we've managed to do over the last 12 months is invite speakers, some of them my personal mentors, others who are speakers who I've gone out and searched for and done my research on to make sure that they actually are delivering good quality products and good services and good information, and invite them to come and speak. So last year, and in fact this year, we will always have a guest speaker, and that will be in all sorts of different topics. So you may be interested in creating money through property. So there's many ways that you can do that. You can obviously just buy properties and rent them out and have someone else pay off the mortgage and let the property rise in price. You can do other strategies, such as one called rent to rent, where you find a property, you reconfigure it, you rent out the individual rooms rather than the whole property. So it's a lot more, large cash flow from that property. And you can source property deals. And that is the direction that I took last year when I left the music industry. I actually set up a property sourcing business, and I started from scratch. I searched around for a good mentor who could teach me how to do that as quickly as possible. And I built up a list of investors, 300-400 investors, and I did marketing in particular areas in London where I felt there was an opportunity to find good property deals that I could negotiate the price down, and then I could go to my investors and see if that was something they wanted to purchase, and then match the two together and charge a fee. And that's what's known as property sourcing and deal packaging. So I spent last year doing that, and actually, from about 8:30 onwards, it says we've got a business breakaway session. So what we're going to do after Scott, where is Scott? Oh, Scott's at the back there. So after Scott has shared with us his amazing goal setting process, we'll actually break into a few little splinter groups, and my trading mentors are here. Hopefully we'll be here later. So anyone interested to learn a bit more about trading, we can have a chat with Zahir. Anyone interested to learn about property and ways to start making money from property, we have Rohit here. And Rohit is a mentor, friend, and successful property investor himself. So, so anyone interested in finding out about property strategies, we'll be chatting with Rohit. Also, my girlfriend Laura there. Give everyone a wave. So,
we're all in the far
yeah, we'll sort that out later. So Laura will explain her story later, but Laura set up a part-time business selling products on Amazon, and it's become a really popular business opportunity for many people over the last 18 months, and it involves finding a product of which there are hundreds of thousands, obviously for sale on Amazon, finding one which you think you can do a better listing and make more appealing, source that product in China through Alibaba.com, negotiate good prices, create a brand, get that logo made, and then have that product shipped from China direct to Amazon. You don't even need to handle the stock, you don't have it at home, and then Amazon will pick that every time they get an order and send it out. Very, very simple. There's work involved to get that up and running, and there's some customer service work once it's up there. But really, it's pretty automated. And when you've got one product working well, then you've gone through the process, and it's quite easy to then do your second, your third, and fourth. And if you have 10 products selling 10 units a day, well, then you're on your way to $1 million business with that. So, so I know there's a few people that are doing Amazon. In fact, raise their hands for anyone. Paul, who's doing Amazon, Mal, Mesh, Camille. So yeah, there's a few people. So if you're interested in the Amazon opportunity, there's, take note of those guys with their hands up and have a chat with Laura when we do the breakaways later. So, whizzing through, there was a form on your seats, and I'd really appreciate if you can just take a minute or two to fill out that form. I know some of you who've been to meetups before, don't worry about that. No forms at the back, that's cool. We'll get some spares for you later. Yeah, this is purely for my use, and it's really useful because I then know what kind of speakers and what opportunities you're most interested in, and I can then go and try and get those speakers to come to future meetups. So if lots of you are interested in setting up online businesses and learning how to drive social media and Facebook advertising, which I know a lot of you are because we've just had a conversation, then I will get those speakers in. And if you want to learn more about property specific strategies, pop that on the sheet. So whatever it is you're interested in, just fill those sheets out, and that's just for my use. That won't go anywhere else. So website, we're getting there. I've been saying this for months now. Website on the way, but that's the homepage as it stands. Pretty much actually putting this together myself. I'm really into online marketing as well. So when I do have a spare minute in the day, I study online marketing quite a lot, and I'm very into different software. I use ClickFunnels to create this, and the purpose of this is really to put all of the recordings from the speakers together and to do special trainings and just be a hub basically. So if you ever want to find out something, also outsourcing, which is becoming very popular now for entrepreneurs like ourselves who are working full time. You can get outsourcers in the Philippines and India for very reasonable rates, like $2 an hour, and they can be working whilst you're at work, and you can come home, and it's a very, very effective way of getting your businesses up and running very quickly. So I haven't put the domain up there because it's not quite ready yet, and I don't want you going there and then links not working and stuff. But it's on its way, and I think it's really gonna help us all. So also this year, really proud and happy to say that we've launched the Escape the Rat Race mentoring program, and this is in association with one of my personal mentors, which is John Ketley there. And I know many of you have already experienced John. John spoke in November, and a lot of people just connected with John, same as I did, because he's really down to earth, and he He really knows his stuff. He started and built many companies, and he's a true entrepreneur in that once they're up and running and they're really hugely successful, he gets bored and he just wants to move on to the next idea. So he sells them off, and he's fantastic, and he's helped me a hell of a lot this year. And so he was the perfect partner to create the mentoring program, because the meetups are great. And last year we had fantastic meetups, and we've built a community now of nearly 900 members. But like any course, for anyone who's invested time and money in courses and done a weekend, it's all good at the weekend. Come Monday, the workbook gets shoved aside, and sometimes it never gets opened again, and that's a shame. And so when there's a month between meetups, the good ideas can often float away. So by having a mentor, and I have 5 mentors in different areas, you have someone who is constantly just nudging you, and keeping you accountable and steering you on the path. So the first thing is obviously deciding what you want to do. What's the opportunity that you are going to focus on and dedicate your time and efforts towards? Because the magpie butterfly effect of trying something for a few months, then it not working, and just trying something else and buying another course, it doesn't get you anywhere. And anyone who knows the rich dad story, they say that Robert Kiyosaki's rich dad was actually a guy called Keith Cunningham. I don't know if anyone has come across that name. Keith Cunningham spoke at a Anthony Robbins Wealth Mastery event I went to back in probably 2006. And he really is like absolutely amazing business mind. And he referred to it as getting in the queue at the supermarket. And if you're in the queue and you're getting closer and closer to the front, and then you go, oh, I forgot something, and you go, and then you come back, you're at the back of the queue again, and you got to wait. And then if you forget something else, and that's very similar to how the cycle is with opportunity seekers. I generalize there, but so many people, myself included, absolutely, have tried something, wanted the results quicker than they've come, and you just give up and you start something else, and you just get into the back of the queue, and that's the cycle that goes on for most people, and they never ever make it. So it's very possible to get rich, and I totally believe it. And there's people who within this group last year have managed to leave their jobs, and there will be many more people this year, I know it, who will be able to successfully create income. Let's see a raise of hands. Who's devoted to leaving their job this year? Or devoted could be the key word there. Yeah, who's going to make it happen? Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, that's good. Good. I'm really pleased about that. And we've got 12 months to do that. And John actually says that for most people, we talk about financial freedom, and for most people, that actually only equates to about an extra £2,000 a month on top of your expenses. So when your expenses are covered, if people have got an extra £2,000 a month, that's enough, because you can do a lot with that. You can do holidays, you can buy the things you want, you can save, invest. So it's really not that far away, and that's why working with someone like John will help you map out exactly where the end goal is. What's that figure? What's the financial security figure? And then what's the financial independence? And then the financial abundance where you can afford to do anything you want. And people like John are in that position, and why would you not want to get close to them and learn from them? So we have the program, and there's members in here who I'm very pleased to say are joining us, and we've got our first session, our first sort of boardroom mastermind session this Saturday, and we are keeping it small groups, and there's a few places. So if that's something that anyone here feels they need that little help this year, they need some direction, they need the clarity, then have a chat, contact me. There's a page there if you want to jot that down and actually read more about it. escape-ratrace.com/mentoring. There's a few different programs there, so if you don't want to go full out with the actual face-to-face live meetings every month, there's some online programs as well. So John has put together loads of training videos for anyone getting into business and needs to know how to set up the systems, the processes, the mindset, your branding, creating a USP, all these key things that you need as a business owner. So very excited about this this year. So why are we here? Well, I've already touched on this really. So these books are probably familiar to all of you. If they're not, then you get out there and read some. And my book list is absolutely colossal on Amazon. Whenever I get a book recommendation, I just go on my Amazon app and I just save it for later. I was doing like 4 or 5 last night. I got 76 saved. So when I've got a bit of spare cash, I'll just buy the whole lot, and then I've got to try and schedule some time to read them all. But I'm sure, you know, the saying is all leaders are readers, and, you know, I believe that. There's a guy who runs Progressive Property, and he has a very hugely successful multi-million-pound company. He read 150 books last year, and that includes audio books. It's so easy now. You can have an audio book ×2 speed and just zip through it in like 2-3 hours, you know. So just consume the information. Everyone read Rich Dad, Poor Dad? Yeah, majority of people, I imagine. So this is the second book actually, which I actually prefer. I think there's a lot more meat on the bone for the cash flow quadrant book. If you haven't read the second book, Rich Dad Cash Flow Quadrant, I definitely recommend that you read that. It goes into a lot more detail. And so this is really integral to I think, the journey that we're on. Most likely, large majority of us are employees, so PAYE, and that's kind of where it's stuck at, you know. Making that move over to the other side, how do we do that? You know, how do you become a business owner? And the difference between the S and the B, in Rich Dad's terms, is that self-employed is when you have a job, someone else is employing you, and you think, you know what, I can do this better. You know, I've got the network, I can create a better service. So you set up on your own, and then you suddenly realise, actually, you've got to do all the accounting, all the marketing, all the sales, all the HR, the whole lot. You're wearing all the hats. So you end up working 18, 20 hours a day and just stressing out, and it's no fun at all. A business owner is classified as 500 people or more, so big businesses, yeah. So there's quite a jump there, and I'm not necessarily going to go with the Kiyosaki 500 or more. I think, you know, if you're running your own business and it's generating income, we say passive income, but if it's generating income and it doesn't involve your hours to necessarily get that income out, I would say, yeah, that's a business. And investor, obviously, when you start using the profits from your business, investing into assets which will generate more cash flow, because that's really the goal, isn't it? We want to buy assets, so stocks and shares and properties, which just generate money, yeah? And then you build that until it hits your, whatever that figure is, you know, whatever figure you need to live on each month, you want to have assets that are generating that figure. And when you've done that, I'd say you've hit the jackpot. So that's what the group's about, really. And if this is stuff that resonates with you, then we're going to go through a lot of ideas this year to help you make a decision and hopefully pick something, because they all work. You know, trading works, property works, online business works, Amazon work. They all work if you do the work and if you stick to one thing. So I spoke to a few of you outside about the lifestyle. You know, we all hear this lifestyle of sitting on the beach with a laptop and just watching, you know, the money roll in and close the laptop at lunchtime, and that's our money for the day. Yeah, why not? That's a good dream. That's a good goal to have. Certainly one that myself and Laura have. So it's possible. And if that's what you want, then stick around with the group, because there's a lot of people, and together we'll get there a lot quicker than trying to just figure it out ourselves. I said this before, you know, it's tough when you're in a job and you have this mindset of an entrepreneur. You know that you can do this, but you're in a job and you're surrounded by people who just don't get it at all. And you go home and then maybe you've got a partner or you've got family and you can't really chat to them about it either. And it's, you know, it's lonely, and you just think, oh, maybe this isn't what I should be doing. So come to these meetups, or, you know, find other meetups and other people who are doing it, because it is infectious. And because I made the jump out of my job last year and I just had free time to do whatever I wanted, I was able to spend more time with entrepreneurs. And 12 months ago, if you'd have said earning 5,000 a month, I'd have thought, yeah, that's pretty good, 5 grand. Yeah, it is good, but now I'm thinking 10 grand, 15 grand, because, you know, the bar raises, because you're surrounded by people who are doing 50 grand a month. They're out there. So just just go and find them and model them basically. Last year we went through the money jar system, and this comes from T. Harv Eker, who's another obviously big personal development guru that's out there. And it's a good system, and if you're just kind of on the starting path, you haven't quite worked out what route you're going to take, a good way is to make sure that your current situation is in check basically. So the income you are earning, that you're allocating that and you're not just spending it, and you're certainly not spending more than you earn each month, because that's kind of rule number one of financial freedom, is don't spend more than you earn. So we separate it up something roughly like that, and if you can't see the figures there, I've kind of played on the T. Harv Eker and adjusted it slightly, but from your monthly income, so that's 2 grand, 3 grand, 5, whatever it is, put 5% of that towards education. So that's to help you learn. So that's books, it might be some Udemy courses or some audios from Audible, but 5%, just tuck that away. 5% for giving as well, contribution, charity. Start at the beginning. You know, don't say, well, when I'm earning like loads and loads of money, then I'll start giving, because 5% of a lot of money is going to be painful if you're suddenly giving that away. So start small and then get into that good habit. And 10% for play. So it says there, entertainment, restaurants, you know, just going out and enjoying yourself, because being a miser and saving all your pennies is not a fun life either. So 10% is long-term saving to spend. So yeah, that's defined, if I remember, 3 months really. So yeah, you can save that up for bigger things, so maybe like a big holiday. So it's just a little pot that you put a little bit away, so when the holidays come or the bigger items that you want, then you have that. But really, don't try and save it up too long. Try and spend that every 3 or 4 months, and just enjoy it, because the journey is about enjoying it as well and having fun. Financial freedom account, 15% there, and that really is the money that you put away and you invest and you don't touch, because that's what the money that you're going to use to start buying assets, so buying some stocks and shares and assets that are going to generate income, and that's the income that's going to see you well throughout, you know, your later life, and that will be your pension. And then 55% on necessities, so that's the bills, the mortgages, the rents, the things that need to be paid each month. So, you know, you're more than welcome to try that out. I actually, with my bank account, can set up lots of individual online savers with Halifax, and then I just used to have my wage just automatically direct debit, sort of just split into those jars online. So it was very easy, and so I knew exactly what I had to spend that month, and I knew all that had already been taken care of. And it's a very good system, it's a very good habit to get into. Okay, Wealth Builders. So Wealth Builders is a company that was set up by another of my mentors, who is Kevin Whelan. And Wealth Builders is about empowering people with the knowledge to create financial security and independence, which is what we're all achieving, hopefully, or aiming to achieve. And Kevin's formula for financial freedom is that. Does anyone like to have a guess at what that sounds like?
Compound interest.
Some compound interest. Well, it's not quite, but it's a good guess. Does anyone, Rohit?
Your assets and your income is greater than your expenses.
Yes, you got it. Yeah, so Kevin's formula for financial freedom is when asset income is greater than or equal to expenses, then you're a happy camper, basically. So it's what we've said, it's really, you know, building that pot of money, so putting something aside from your business profits or your job, and building assets, so property, whatever asset class that might be, that will generate enough money each month that it covers your expenses, and that is the definition of financial freedom. So does anyone else have a different definition? Does anyone want to add to that, or no? So that makes sense to most people, I think. Yeah. And just to clarify really what an asset is, according to Kevin and Wealth Builders. So an asset is something that you own that is not you. It puts money into your bank account while you are asleep, and you can pass that money on to the people you care about or good causes, and it does not end because you're not there. So it's very important, and Kevin is fantastic, and he's always making me think. He's always asking me the question, well, that's good, that makes some money, but are you building wealth? Are you wealth building? You know, when you're not there, is that money going to keep on growing? And are you going to be able to pass that entity onto somebody else, your kids, grandkids? And is that going to keep on growing? Because the way he set things up, and he's generating like 50,000 a month now, because he's a clever guy, and he's set this up over the last 20 years, buying different assets, setting up businesses, and he just calls it infinity. So the money just keeps going in and it never leaves. It just keeps going round and growing. So every month that money is just creating more money. And the asset pot is just growing. So it's very important to be aware of that. You know, it's not just about making loads of money, but actually investing it, buying assets so that it's growing and it's something that you will be able to pass on, and it won't just stop when we're not around. The 7 pillars of wealth, according to Kevin and Wealth Builders. Most people build their wealth, or most people go through life, and when they get to retirement, they've built their wealth on the right-hand side there. So they've generally bought a home, and it goes up in price, hopefully, if you're at the right time of the life cycle. Most people have pensions, although not so much these days. And most people will have some investments, some stocks and shares, ISAs. And most people will build their wealth on that and get to retirement and hope that the stock market's good, hope that the housing market is good, yeah? And if these things aren't, then they're in trouble. So like a few years ago, obviously when we had the crash and house prices dipped, well, if you were hitting retirement then and the stock market has dipped and your pension is suddenly not worth what you thought it was going to be and your investments have all gone down, it's a pretty scary situation, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about that. So it's risky, and that's how most people go through life, is just thinking, oh, I'll just buy a house, I'll just have my pension and I'll have some savings. It's a gamble. It really is. And in this day and age, it's only getting more so. So we teach people to really look at the other side of the frame. And this is the entrepreneurial side. And we have property portfolio, businesses, intellectual property, and joint ventures. So this is really the active part, because it's very easy to just buy a house, put money in a pension, and have some ISAs. You don't really need to do much management of that. But you actually need to have a bit more of an entrepreneurial mind to build a property portfolio that will generate income, to create businesses and come up with ideas for products and services, to create intellectual property. So when you have that idea, then you package that up and you write a book and you share that secret with other people. Or you create online courses like, Udemy now, and so many things that have popped up in the last few years which allow you to create money from your ideas and your knowledge. And we all have unique knowledge, whether that's through our work, skills that we know, whether it's a passion or a hobby. It's so easy, and if we want to talk about this later in a Breakaway group, we can do, but it's so easy now to just create step-by-step guides, make that into an ebook, create a video series, stick it up on one of the Udemy sites, drive some traffic, and that can be, a 24/7 income stream. So that's intellectual property. And then joint ventures, which for me is really key. The power of your network and your connections and how that can put money in your pocket. So joint ventures, always be looking at the people around you. What ideas they've got, what ideas you've got, how can you help one another? Maybe someone has a list and you have an idea, someone has some money and you have a property. There's so many different ways. But that's huge. Joint ventures really is huge. So that's a little summary. I hope that kind of just gives people who are newer to the group an idea about what we're on, what our focus is, what it's going to take to achieve those things, and just staying on the path is the most important lesson out of all of that. And just try and remember that little story about the shopping queue, because if you choose a good path, and hopefully we will introduce you to lots of good paths, and you stick with it, your chances of success are high. They really are, but you've got to stick with it. So moving on to tonight's guest speaker, which is Scott, and it seemed apt that we would start the new year with a goal-setting session. For anyone who's tried to, well, let's see, who's set some goals already this year? Good amount of you. What are you doing here then? Well, that's good. I'm really pleased. I mean, that's amazing, you know, to have, I don't know how many other rooms I could ask that question and that many hands would go up. I don't think it is possible, other than an Anthony Robbins sort of seminar or something. But cool. Well, I was chatting with a couple of members earlier, and goal setting is something that I've always kind of struggled with, to be quite honest, because it's all good going through the process, but actually creating meaningful goals that are not just kind of wishes, and that you genuinely believe you can achieve that year, and you can see the steps that are required to make it there. And I've tried lots of different, you know, Brian Tracy is a famous guy for goals, and Jim Rohn has got a goal setting, Anthony Robbins, there's tons out there. In fact, Michael, we were chatting beforehand, and you and Mariana have been doing John Assaraf goal setting process.
Yes,
and you showed me that. That was really cool. So there's a whole kind of workbook there to follow. So there's a lot of different ways out there. But Scott, when I met Scott last year, Scott runs his own meetup group where he specifically goes through the goal setting process in his own unique way. And I really got a lot out of that. And it's a system that I follow now. So I wanted to invite Scott along to share that with all of you. And we're going to go take about an hour to do this. And hopefully by the end of that, you'll have some immediate action points, which you will start tomorrow and you'll stick with, I hope, for the rest of the year. So, Scott, I'm going to hand it over to you.